Hey, what's up guys, Joe here once again and welcome back to the channel. This is officially my 1 month review on the Hasselblad X2D. So I have had the X2D paired together with the 45p lens, which is equivalent to 35-36mm in full frame, and it has decent image, really good image actually, because of the sensor. But just recently I acquired the 90mm lens, the 3.2 90mm. That's one thing that a lot of people don't even talk about. I've tried to find videos concerning this 90mm online and no one is talking about. The one that everyone is talking about is the 80mm 1.9 because of the 1.9 aperture. But that's a different story altogether. I have a review on that coming out very soon, and why you don't actually need to spend the £4,000 on the 80mm over the £3,000 90mm. A video for that will come in the future. So again, this is the Hasselblad X2D. Just a quick overview on the body. It is ergonomically the best camera I have personally used, owned and held in my hand. This is purely because of the profile. As you can see, it has this dent right here where your palm just comfortably lies, and the grip itself is so big that it can accommodate all 4 of my fingers at the front. And then also very minimalistic. The Scandinavian look that has been implemented in this camera is just superb. If you look at the top right here, there are 3 buttons right here on the top with the shutter release that makes it 4. And then at the back here, as we know with many cameras and DSLRs and mirrorless cameras, there is loads of buttons here, control joystick, nipples and whatnot. But here you have just 2 buttons right here, and then 4 buttons that is actually attached to the screen. That means that when you tilt the screen, you have the buttons tilted up as well. This is something that I really love of the X2D. Now, one major thing that I actually adore the most is the LCD screen, where all the information lies. Very nice and big and clean for you to see all the information. And I feel that this is something that many manufacturers should implement. Having said that, there is just a couple of things that I have that I find a little bit of a quirk that could be improved with firmware update, and it's very simple to get that done. On the left right here, you have the CF Express Type A slot for card reader, and then a single USB-C port. That's all that you find when it comes to ports. And so you can use the CF Express Type B, Type A card in here, or you can just stick with the 1 TB included built-in drive for this camera. This is something that only 2 manufacturers doing. You have the Red Dot people, the Leica people have a 64 gig in one of their cameras, but Hasselblad decided to take it a whole step further onto a different level altogether by including a 1 TB internal SSD. This means 2 reasons. You don't have to spend on SSD because we know that it is very, very expensive. CF Express Type A cards. Having said that, because this is 100 million pixel sensor, that means the file sizes are huge. So the basic 128 CF Express card will not cut it. And so you would need at least a 512 or above to be able to have a decent workflow in regards to storage for your images. And so Hasselblad has included this inside this camera body. So when I had it, I do actually have a CF Express Type A card thanks to my previous camera, the Canon R3 that I owned. And so I have a 512 CF Express Type A by Angelbert that I could easily slot in here. However, when I was gifted this camera, I just purely worked with the internal storage and it's been working flawlessly. One good thing about that is offloading files is just snappy like that. Obviously, it also depends on where you're offloading it to. If that drive is also SSD or a fast reading drive, then obviously that works. So for me, what I have been uploading to is my iPad 2023 M2 Pro, and that has been going flawless. And then when I connect it to my main computer, which is the Mac M2 as well, works flawlessly. So I have no issue with that. By the way, when I am actually offloading onto my phone, the iPhone 15 Pro Max, it actually goes like this. And that's how fast this system is. And so it saves you from having to physically remove the SD card, insert it into a card reader that hopefully is fast enough to transfer the files, especially when you've been capturing away. You're hoping that it will transfer very quickly so that you can start working at the image. And so this has been a very, very good thing for me with the internal storage. I currently do use every now and then the CF Express Type A card, but just as a redundant backup storage. That's all it is really. Now, one thing that I was talking about with regards to the LCD is that as soon as you press on the shutter button, then automatically all the information disappears at the front. So at the moment, this is how it is. And as soon as I press on the shutter button, then it goes into live view mode. And this is something that I wish was not the case with many mirrorless cameras. Once you put your eye to the eye cup to view through there, all the information still stays on the screen. However, in this case, as soon as you go to the eye cap and you hit the shutter button, then the information at the back here disappears and it goes straight into live view mode. So Hasselblad, if you're listening, this is very important that we have this information constantly staying at the front of the LCD, and we will be able to look through the viewfinder and take the pictures, and when we take our eyes off it, those information is still there. So currently this is what's happening. Is in information mode. As soon as I go to the iCap and come back, then it's gone to live view mode. So we want to avoid this and constantly have that information on there. One other thing that I really appreciate is the fact that it has this tilting screen. It works very well for what it's meant to. The only downside is that this huge iCap right here somewhat blocks the view on the top. So if you're trying to do focus and move your focus point to the top there, then that blocks it. And especially if you're shooting landscape, portrait, and the person is right there, it blocks their face. So it's a little bit quirky, but it works. It works awesomely. The LCD has over 5 point something million dots of resolution, which is really, really nice. Very rich, very, very crisp. Talking about richness, the name Hasselblad, we know this is because of the richness and the micropixels that the sensor gives you when capturing images. One other thing that I would like to say as well is crop mode, cropping. There is one cropping feature in there that really and truly doesn't, the crop is very, very little, very minimal. So you are able to just a little bit punch in more than what the standard lens will give you. So I wish that there is a bit more crop, especially when you're using a 90mm. When you activate the crop, it'll punch in a lot more like what we are used to with our regular Sonys and Canon mirrorless cameras that enables one lens to serve as two lenses. It is implemented, but the crop is very, very little. And I wish that Hasselblad will also enable us to pick different resolutions, because you are stuck with 100 million pixel resolution. It would be nice if we were able to step down to maybe 75 or 50 megapixels. That will enable you to also save storage, because obviously not every image that requires 100 megapixel. Now, another thing as well, talking about pixels, is that the camera now has face detection AF. Phase detection AF. It works very well even with these older expensive lenses. It works very well. I have had a chance to actually play with the new 55 and 90mm, and it is, in my opinion, not really worth to consider the difference between the older and the newer, especially when it comes to the autofocus, because it is being advertised that it's a lot faster. To be honest, if you're going to give it a 1 out of 10, you'll probably say it's 2. That's how little much difference it makes. That is with my experience with the 90, the older 90, which is this one, and the newer 90 side by side, being able to play with it. I was fortunate that when I was purchasing this old 90, the person who sold it to me actually owns the new one as well. So I was able to play with both of them, and I was more than satisfied with this 93.2. Now, another thing as well that I would like to just hint in, again, the review will come for the 90 versus the 80mm, is that many people are going for the 80mm lens because it has a shallower depth of field. It's aperture 1.9 instead of the 90mm, which is 3.2. Now, the thing is, even the 90mm at 3.2, the depth of field is so shallow that if you're not careful, you'll miss a point. If, for example, you're focusing on a person and you pick the nose as a point, or if the person has a side profile and you pick the eyes as a point and you snap that shot with this 90mm at 3.2 aperture, you realize that the side of the face is completely sharp and the other half is blurred. That's how blurry this lens gives you. And so you can imagine if you are actually going to go ahead and use the 80mm at 1.9, it is going to be extremely shallow. So you are bound to be shooting anything from f3, f3.2 upwards on that lens. So really and truly, to me personally, I don't see why you should spend £4,000 on the 81.9 compared to the £3,000, this 93.2. That is, by the way, anyway, a full review on the lens will come, and comparison video will come as well. So you want to hit the subscribe button below so that you don't miss out, and stay tuned for that one. Now, finally, but not the least, is the sensor. I wanted to come back to the sensor as last because it is a beautiful sensor. It is a beautiful sensor. You get very rich images, very, very nice images. I mean, the blues are the best blues that I have seen in any camera, period, without having to retouch or without having to touch up and stuff like that. You get the richness of the image through Hasselblad's sensor, Hasselblad's color science. And so I have personally owned the GFX 100S, not the Mark II, but in my opinion, after using the GFX 100S compared to this, having owned the Canon R3, the R5, having owned the Sony a7 R5, which I am recording with right now, this, in my opinion, is the Arri of still cameras. The Arri of still cameras. If you are into cinematography, you understand where I'm coming from. Arri is a video camera or a cinema camera that actually provides the most richest and color accurate images out from their cameras, and this is exactly what you get from this Hasselblad, and I'm pretty sure across most Hasselblad cameras as well. This camera is purely for photography, because it doesn't have any video features whatsoever. Even though it has a microphone right here on the top with some dots in there, I believe it is a microphone. I still feel that perhaps Hasselblad are going to pull up a trick in their sleeves, which I hope and believe that they're working on, because having a camera with this color accuracy, with this sensor, this camera could easily spit out 8K video very, very easily. And we know that the sensor is very slow. However, it is that sensor. And so it is good enough for it to now have face detection. And that's all you need for video work, face detection. And so I'm hoping that one day very soon, Hasselblad will release some video features to this camera so that you'll be able to use it for basic video. And don't quote my word for it, because there isn't any HDMI ports or any microphone inputs or whatsoever. But this is my 1 month review on this camera. The images are stellar. The images are stellar. I cannot say that enough. It has the most beautiful, the most organic, the most color accurate images that this camera actually spits out from the sensor. So that's it for me. Hopefully this will give you an insight on what the camera is capable of. And if you need any more information, feel free to leave a comment below and we can pick up a conversation from there. Stay tuned and I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.